Hello and welcome. If you are just joining us, it's your host, KARIFEST Duchess Onyeka. On today's program, we want to take a look at business as a topic. And with me in the studio is a fine gentleman who is in the business of helping people grow their businesses. He is actually a brand consultant. And when he comes on the show to talk to us, he will explain more what that actually means. Hello and welcome. This is another episode of the KARIFEST show. Talk about women pretending. Don't men pretend?
His Excellency will sit down here and tell you the number of persons living with disabilities in their
Growing up, I never saw my mother and my father quarrel one
Can
day.
a woman actually stay in a marriage where the man cannot perform sexually?
With their mouth alone, they can even bury the man.
Malaysian burger, there's this saying that you fake it till you make it.
Do so many things just to get that, just to be loved.
Have you ever faked it? Today with me in the studio is Engineer Chuka Onwebunwa. He is a brand consultant. Please join me as I welcome him to the show. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me just start by saying that my name is Chuka Onwebunwa. Yes, I'm a brand management consultant, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So you're welcome. So tell us, brand management consultant. That's big grammar. Can you break it down for us?
Actually, what we do basically is to help brands to thrive. So we help them to move from one level to another, because we know that every business has a brand. As a matter of fact, the brand is more important than the business.
How do you
So
mean?
when we say that, some people are like, oh wow, what do you mean by that? Exactly the question I was expecting. All right, the brand is actually the soul of every business in terms of what people know, what people relate with, what people think about, what people feel about what you do. As a matter of fact, people don't relate with your business because of your business really. Really it's about how they feel about your business and the value that your business add to them and the way they are able to, articulate that and understand it. So you can have, let's say you have like 5-10 persons who are doing the same exact kind of business. What will make one person sell more than the other? Now, these are the things that actually differentiate one business from another. So the business is the buying and selling the things you do than the services. But the brand goes beyond that. Brand is now about what people think about what you do, how they feel, the connection, the relationship that you're able to create, the promise that people have, and that idea they have concerning the things that you do and why they should patronize you.
Okay,
So you see that already says some.
Okay,
some
so that's like the perception people have a particular
Basically perception and
business.
reputation.
That is what the person is selling.
Simply put, you got it. That's the nail on the head.
Okay, so can an individual be a brand?
Yes, of course. An individual is a brand, business is a brand, product and service can be a brand. Because every individual has a perception. I'm seeing it for the first time though, but now I already have a perception about
I
you.
hope it's favorable.
Oh yes, you're beautiful, and
Thank
that's
you.
right.
And you're cute.
So every individual has a perception and has a brand. People recognize your brand, they relate with that brand, and all that. So basically, you find out people have become brands of some sort. But branding is something that has to be consistent, because if people can relate a particular idea to you, then there's confusion. But if you're consistent with that idea, people now can relate with that idea to you and all that kind of thing. So the behavior and the things you do, the way you do them, your voice texture, you understand, and the look. For instance, I've had my white beard for a long time. Anybody who sees me and doesn't see the white beard will now begin to wonder, I don't think it's him. So anytime you see with the white beard, the next thing you want to know, is it him or not him? So what I'm trying to say is that there are things that relate to people. And remember that human beings are psychological beings. And everything we do is basically psychological. The way we feel, the way we think, and that is critical as long as human relations is concerned.
Okay, now, if a brand is an individual or a business, what are those attributes of that brand that makes the brand stand out?
Well, basically, there are a lot of attributes. First is that the identity of that business or the person. Now, when we're talking about identity, we're talking about some physical elements. For instance, it's an individual, it's a person. The person will need to have like I talked about the voice texture. These are, the heights, the complexion. There must be a way of identifying the person, the way the person likes to appear and show up and dress. Some people have good dress sense. They like to dress a certain way. So these things are identifiable. So people can identify a particular person with some kind of identity. Now, this identity, just like I mentioned my white beard, is an identity. And it's conscious, because branding is intentional and it's a conscious thing. So you have to do it consciously, knowing that this is what people identify me with time. Now, this is the physical identification, which is very, very critical. And then going into the business, we have the logo, we have the colors, of the business.
When it's
when it's business now, corporate now. We have the logo, we have the colors, you have the name, which is important, of course. All right. So there's
total packaging.
Yeah. There are some people who identify a business with just the color. There are some business that have owned some colors. Our fonts, exactly, because these are visual,
like
bands. So now, think about the visual identity, and then we also have the verbal identity, your voice texture, and of the way you sound and communicate, even for business and individuals. So these are things that people identify and can relate to a particular brand. And so when anybody tries to mimic something like that, they say, oh, this person is talking like this. Can somebody sound like you? And they say, oh, they sound like you. Do you understand? I remember somebody who called me and said, I heard your voice somewhere. And I was very sure, almost 100% sure it was you. But unfortunately, it wasn't me. I wasn't in that vicinity around that time. But of course, this is a voice texture that has been identified with me. So if you hear that anywhere else, you're like, I heard this man's voice. It may not be me, but it could be me, actually. So you can imagine all that. So this is what actually happens with individuals and with businesses. And sincerely, they are far-reaching, because they can make the difference. They can be the difference between even failure or success, as long as branding is concerned.
So will it be right to say that branding is uniqueness?
Oh yes, branding is absolute uniqueness and absolute specialness. And because every individual is unique, for instance, no individual is the same. Now, I've heard people talk about identical twins, for instance. Yes, they're identical. They may be identical, and of course, their physical nature and all that. But there are a lot of things that is different about them. And yes, and I remember having to deal with a lot of identical twins, especially when I was in university. I had a couple of them. When I mean identical, I mean that you can hardly differentiate one from the other. But then there's something about them. One is introverted, one is extroverted. There's something really different about them. And of course, science told us that our DNA are different. There are no two persons that have the same DNA.
But I just interviewed an identical twin, and they said up to their thumbprint, computer cannot distinguish who is who. Computer picks one person's thumbprint as the other. Their faces, computer picks it. Even when they are opening their phone, the other person's phone can open that's the twin brother's phone.
That's
using the
that's
face.
Really strange. Yes,
strange.
The facial features can actually be identical.
But their thumbprint, they have issue with their name. Yes.
For thumbprints, that is interesting to know.
I just had an interview with them.
However, these are biometrics, okay? But what about their character, their personality?
These twins, they smile the same way. There's no difference.
Do they behave the same way? Do they like the same way?
I just interviewed them. I've not seen an identical twin like them before. Their dentition is the same. In fact, one is to leave the room. They have the same scar on their faces. So I don't know.
They sound the same. So when this person thinks,
the same. Just that one is the one that is tougher from what they said, but I couldn't place it. I couldn't take that.
It's actually.
So when it comes to a brand, like why I'm bringing in the issue of identical twins, that two brands can actually be similar. They can be identical, but there should be something to that
differentiates
them.
Now, and that is
inanimate object.
Yes,
but for human beings, sometimes like the identical twins I just interviewed, sometimes you might not really be able to draw the difference or draw the line.
Let me tell you why.
So how does that work play out?
I remember this. I remember this prank that a particular identical twins had to play a prank on their husbands. I don't know if it trended some time ago. And it was difficult for their husband to try to differentiate them. But yeah, you can. Because when you stay with them for too long, you begin to know their likes, their dislikes, the way they behave, and a lot of things. And then you might begin to ask, like, okay, no, this one is really different. Even though you might not really put your hands on it, especially when you don't know the other party exists. You understand? So it's difficult. But generally put together, there are brands that may be identical.
Okay.
And not necessarily because this brand saw this one, They may just be identical just the way they are, the way they think. I can imagine that I'm thinking about a particular idea and somebody else is thinking about the same exact idea the way I'm thinking about it. Yet there will be some differences. That's the truth.
So you as a brand expert, when somebody copies you now as a brand, or let's say a business, because a business is thriving, there have been instances, either banks where a company A is thriving, doing the same business with company B.
Yeah.
Company B tries to copy company A to make sure they are doing the same thing. Become the issue of a brand identity crisis now arises.
Yeah.
Now, as a brand expert, how do you correct that? I mean, how do you work that out?
Well,
to make sure that each brand has its own distinct, unique identity.
Now, the thing about this identity crisis thing is that sometimes is actually the reason why a lot of businesses exist too. They exist because they want to just be the copy of another thriving business. And so many examples actually abound. Now, if it is actually they set up because they want to be like this, so they are trailing that particular company, do you understand, toe to toe. For whatever everything they do, it means that everything this company does, they copy. Now, they may try to sound, their name may sound alike. Now, I remember somebody trying to copy Sonny, whatever. You understand? The only thing they changed was just the alphabets. But it's the same and all that. Now, the truth of the matter is this. Whenever you copy, you are more like a cheaper version of the original.
That's for those who know.
No, but that's the
Some
truth.
people don't know.
But that's the truth. No matter what you do, because there's a pace setter. There's someone who is already setting the pace and you're the copier. Now, the thing is that you can still be doing well in your copy depending on what you want. So if you actually want to become the leader, the market leader, then you shouldn't be copying, you should be setting the pace. You should be dominating in your space as much as possible. But now it depends on what the real purpose for setting up that business. Like I said, some businesses are set up to become copy. So they copy everything. Now, think about even the home movie industry at some time. You know, anybody who starts something that strives, the next thing is that a lot of people want to copy that same thing, copy the name of the movie, copy even the storyline of the movie, because they feel this one was a success. Okay. Now, some of them actually become a success, some of them don't. But the thing is that they become the cheap version of the original all the while. So my advice, actually, to those kinds of persons is that, do you really want to become, a cheaper version all the time? Do you actually want to always play a second fiddle? But that's the thing now. Some people say, well, as long as I'm making money, so what does that mean? Now, I remember a particular brand that know that, man, there's a leader in this industry. So they are not out to compete with the leader. So they now took the second fiddle. And they, even in their advert and their messaging, they say they are the second best. They claim it, even in all the advertising messages and all that, the second best. But guess what? At some point, that idea, the thing is that they were not really copying this kid, but they were following up on the leaders. So sometimes it depends on the model that you want to run. What business model and strategy?
So if I'm a client, I come to you with such a problem that there's an identity crisis out there. I mean, a company is trying to fake mine. What kind of advice will you give to me, or how will you solve that problem as a brand consultant?
Now, the truth is
so that we can achieve uniqueness for our brand.
No, because your brand is already unique. So somebody is trying to copy you, for instance. Now, the thing is this. As long as they are not infringing into any rights, copyrights, infringement, you can sue them. If they are not trying to copy, like I've seen some people who want to produce a fake of the original. Okay. If they don't have such rights to do that, then they are breaking the law. You can sue them.
There's some brands that you can't fake. Whatever you do, you can't fake. What is it that those people thrive on?
Now, when you talk about faking, for instance, there are brands that had been there for too long. Okay. And the longer you are in the market and people like you and recognize you, the more you become stabilized. Yeah. Now, the thing about faking, really, is that most businesses don't take seriously their trademarks. They need to register a trademark. Logos can be registered.
Of course.
So when you register your logo and you find any logo that you think is copying too close to what, you can actually begin to ask questions and even sue if possible. Because these things become what we call intellectual property, IP. So if they are registered, but if they're not, I mean, you cannot begin to claim anything. Okay, so that's the thing. Like I told you, that some businesses or brands that had claimed some words. They have patented some words already. You can't even use those words. You can't even sell with those words.
That's true.
So that's exactly how it is, even with colors. So if you patent or register your trademark, which means it gives you that backing of the law. So anybody who wants to infringe in that area, you can actually sue them. Okay? But another thing you need to do is to focus more on what actually makes you great. Focus more on what is actually giving you that edge in the marketplace. And hit it more. Because what these guys are doing is to copy. The only thing is that they are watching you with binoculars. So anything you do, they want to copy. So when you have an area of strength in the marketplace, what you need to do is to emphasize and stay with your area of strength. Because I've seen businesses who all of a sudden they just want to go into so many other things at the same time. And then they begin to lose energy, begin to lose the grip. So stay there. It's when you build momentum and capacity that you can have the strength to extend into some other things. So stay in your area and make sure you're stepping down the throttle and moving fast. Otherwise, because there's a lot of competition out there.
Okay, so you as a brand expert, what is your personal brand?
Oh well.
Pause. Please don't go. When we come back, we will find out from him what his personal brand is. I believe he has one. I do. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome. This is another episode of the KARIFEST show. Talk about women pretending. Don't men pretend?
His Excellency will sit down here and tell you the number of persons living with disabilities in Delta.
Growing up, I never saw my mother and my father quarrel one
Can
day.
a woman actually stay in a marriage where the man cannot perform sexually?
With their mouth alone, they can even bury the man.
Malaysian burger, there's this saying that you fake it till you make it.
Do so many things just to get that, just to belong.
Have you ever faked it? Hello viewers, you are welcome back to the show. It's your girl, KARIFEST Duchess Onyeka. And on today's show, we are looking at branding in business. And with me in the studio is Engineer Chuka Anwe Bunwa. Sir, what is your personal brand? I believe you have one.
Yeah. Okay, well, like I always say, that brand resides in the minds of the people. But of course, I have defined my brand also, and that's the way I live. My brand is about gentility, it's about intrinsic, being able to care and help people with the deepest level of emotion possible. Is to connect with individuals, especially who are success driven, because I like success. I like productivity, and I like people who are a little upbeat. Okay, so just to help them, because I believe that iron sharpens iron. So when I see those kinds of people, we can actually get to, do things together. So I like that gentility part of my personality. And I think that goes a lot without saying that anybody who encounters me will always have something sweet to say.
That's your personal brand. You talked about gentility. Are you saying if I slap you now, you take it because you are gentle?
I'm that gentle.
You take it and walk
I'm
away?
Peaceful.
Really?
I could walk away. Unless, of course, if I see that you need help, I'll find a way if I can help.
So, branding is very, very important, both
Absolutely.
in business. Branding is very important in business.
Sure.
Okay, so what is it, as a brand expert, what is it that is about somebody? You said there are some things you like in people. What is it that is identifiable in a person that you spot easily, that will tell you, oh, this is somebody I can work with?
Their demeanor, their aura. And everybody has an aura. Everybody has this demeanor. And so sometimes when you just feel people, the first thing is that's like to just turn and you look at them and again. And of course, the way they look. That's why I think people should place a lot of attention on how they appear.
Brand.
Because you don't always have the second chance to create the first impression. So impression is everything.
So for business, you have to sell yourself first.
You have
before
to sell
your
yourself
brand.
and
Sell
then
your
you
personal
sell your
brand
brand,
before the
of
business
course.
brand.
Always.
Because people's personality, I found out that people's personality or their business is always associated with their personality on how you
Exactly.
thrive.
Exactly.
That's why you see an actor or an actress that is loved more than the other. It's not just about talent. It's not just about how you interpret your roles. It might be that it's your style they like, your countenance, the way you speak. It all goes to show that the person's personal brand is something people cherish, or brand is something that is very important. Now, when it comes to business and money making, let's talk about money making. You know, there's so much poverty in the land.
Yeah.
A lot of people are living below poverty level, like poverty line. I mean, it means people are really, really poor. Some can even hardly eat more than once a day. My question is, why is it that there's so much high level of poverty in the land? Before we now go to how people can beat poverty.
That's a whole lot of reason. Each time I think about it, one of the major reasons I would say is ignorance.
Ignorance of what?
Ignorance of who they are. Ignorance of what's available. You understand? And ignorance of what they can really, really do. So if you don't know who you are, you don't know what's available, you don't know what you can do, can you imagine what that is? So if you know who you are, which means, now this is not about going to school or not going to school. Yes, school has a role to play. I'm not trying to downplay that. But the important thing is that sometimes people think it's about going to school. I've seen people who have really succeeded, who are doing very well without going to school. Yeah, they may not be very much, okay, but they're there.
No, there are many.
Now, so that is to show you that it's not really about going to school. But if you think that school can help, with all pleasure, please go to school. Because there are virtues that school adds to you. Now, some people ask me, oh, but why do I have to go through all the number of, because I have to go through, you need it for discipline. You need it to broaden your horizon and to give you a broader view to the world. So there are a lot of things, but the important thing is that people really don't know who they are. They don't know themselves.
They don't know their potential.
They don't know
the
their
power
potential.
They carry within
Exactly.
them.
That's the thing. And this personal power is the reason why a lot of people are down there, because they don't know. So ignorance is a huge, huge, huge reason, one of the major reasons why people are poor.
You can't grow if you don't know how to use your potential.
But how can you, if you don't even know it does exist?
Now, so let's talk about making money. How can, if I come to you and say, Engineer Chuka, I want to make money, please teach me. What lessons would you have for me? Or how would you teach me to make money?
Well, one thing is this, we need to understand what money is. And every time I tell people that money is much more than the physical cash people throw around. Actually, simply put, money is value. Money is value. So money will always gravitate to where value is. If there's no value, there's no money.
That's if you're not giving out value.
If there's no value, there is no money. And what is value? Value is actually a solution. And that solution could come through different ways. Now, can you imagine that? You're hungry. All right? Then you have a problem.
So who can provide solutions?
So who provides solution to your hunger? Is the one who you pay to solve your problem.
So to be a successful business person, to make money successfully, you have to be a solutions provider.
You have to be a solution provider, simply put. Now, the thing now is that what solution do you provide?
And what's the value of the solution?
Who do you provide it to, and what the value is? So you need to understand that. So if you provide solution to some kinds of persons, for instance, let's take, can we use Dangote for instance?
Why not?
Dangote solves a problem.
Solves lots of problems.
Now, let's just narrow down on a particular problem he solved.
Okay.
Dangote, let's look at Dangote sugar.
Okay.
You know he has a lot of them, but let's look at the sugar. Because each of them, they're making money for him. Who uses sugar more?
Everybody.
Who uses more?
The younger ones.
The younger people. Now, there's something about the kinds of things we do. Dangote sugar is not for the rich. Have you noticed that? There's a sugar for the rich, not Dangote sugar. Everybody can buy Dangote sugar on the street. But guess what? Dangote can reach 10 million with the sugar. So you can imagine he's targeting the larger market with that simple sugar. Now, there are people who are also selling the high-end sugar in the market.
They have their market. So.
They also have their market.
Which is
So the important thing is that you need to know your target audience. That's what a lot of people don't focus on.
Oh.
Who are your target audience? And if you have value, then you should have a target audience.
Which is your market.
Which is your market. Because if you don't know your market, then there's a problem. Now, these are the things that happen between businesses and values. People provide values, but the important thing is that you need to find a market and hold on to it. If I can do a little of comparison, I remember when peak milk was doing very well in the market. Those days it was about peak milk. There's no other milk is peak.
Exactly.
Until cowbell showed up.
Just like Coca-Cola too.
Yeah, but cowbell showed up. Cowbell showed up with the sachet.
Smaller pack, yes, that is more affordable.
And this one was more affordable and it's targeted to the people on the streets, the people we can call the poor. Boy, what happened?
Very affordable for them.
What happened? They took over that market, that particular market. And today you're saying all manner of milk brands have sachet trying to reach.
That's true.
But somebody was able to do that. So I can abound to the market. So the important thing is that you need to find that space you need to feel.
Okay.
There's a space that you need to feel. That's a solution that you need to provide them, okay? But who are you providing it? Look in the market. There are a lot of people providing solution. So if you need to actually make it in the market, make sure that not just you're providing a unique solution, but you are targeting a particular market. So you're filling a space where a lot of people are probably overlooking.
Okay, so if you're able to target a market, you are providing a solution, you are able to target a market, does that guarantee success?
To an extent it does. But the next thing is that
in a highly competitive market.
But the next thing is that how do you do it? How? That is where the branding comes now. How do you do it? People come to you sincerely because they feel that you are so concerned about them, not because of their money. Have you seen people who it's just your money they are interested in? They are not interested in you as a person. Brands are relatable. They are not transactional, they are relational. So whenever you come to brands now, you are not talking about relations because people buy from you based on relationship. Listen, there are people who patronize you just based on relationship because they like your vibe, they like you, there's something about you. And sometimes people might not really put a finger on it, but there's something about you. And that's actually what happens with businesses. So how you deliver it, your customer, how do you serve your customer? That's why people talk about customer service. How do you serve your customer? Do you even know them? Do you know their pain points? Do you know their concerns? Can you go out of your way? Can you do the extra things and go the extra mile? If you're ready to do all that, then be ready because people are going to push you down. People are going to come. Yes, they will. But when they come, will they come back? And how do you get them coming back?
When they come back, that's when you know you're actually in business.
That is when you know you have a brand. That is when you're in business.
So if you as a person, I consult you to make my brand, to become a brand expert for my organization. Okay, I'm into media, entertainment. What will your first five counsel be?
First is that I need to understand what you do. What area of media are you into? Because there are a lot of them. And if I understand that, I want to know what's the difference. Do you understand? What unique thing do you bring to the market? Now, if I can be able to also understand, I need to understand who your target market is. Now, if I put all this together, I'll be able to create something that is pretty unique that sometimes we'll not be able to copy. Because that's the thing. No matter what anybody do, they probably will not be able to copy Coca-Cola.
That's true. They have a class of their own.
That's the thing. And that's the idea. So you keep doing that same thing over and again. But remember that the more you keep doing things are changing every day. Even people's needs are changing.
Your business should
so you
evolve
just have
with
to, you have to keep rebirthing it
Developing.
and keep evolving it. And that's why we say keep evolving. That's one of my mantras. Never just stay at a place. Always evolve.
So have you ever consulted for an organization, for a brand that your consultants, they did not succeed with what they were expecting?
Yes.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yes. And
What happened?
and there are a lot of reasons for that. Number one is that sometimes some people, though they have engaged your expertise, but they still think they know what they want. So sometimes to give them the advice, they don't do it. Because remember, this is not about what we do. Ours is to advise you. This is what you need to do. But for some reasons, if you feel, no, this one is not working,
What if you advise me, I carry out the advice to the last word, to the last letters, and
it also happens. So that's
happens? What happens?
the second level.
As a
Now,
brand expert.
when that happens, we need to go back to our drawing board. We need to go back to our drawing board. You just like football, okay? You want to meet, because the market is competition, for crying out loud. So you need to go back to the drawing board. What did we do wrong? Probably we will not be able to analyze, because there are analytics. You look at the market, you analyze the market, you analyze the people, the customer behavior. There's a lot of things, there are a lot of moving parts. So by the time you do all that, because one thing that happens that sometimes there may be this temptation for copy and paste. We did it for company A, so we think we would the same thing can work for company B, and sometimes it fails, and then we are shocked, like, so something is wrong here. So we need to go back again and begin to know, I think we actually did not do this right. We just copied here without really. So we study. There's a lot of study. There's a lot of survey. There's a lot of, trying to understand, because these are actually where those things can go wrong. So we'll go back to the drawing board and find out and move a few things here and there and re-strategize.
In civilized world, like in the Western world, consulting as a job,
yeah,
or as a business is something that is easily accepted.
Yeah, and it's thriving.
Yes, it's thriving. It's like people pay through their nose to get a consultant. I mean, that is like the apex of career work for some people.
Yeah.
But in Nigeria, consulting, if you tell somebody I'm a consultant, some people don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not something that people have embraced. Because why should I give money to come and counsel me or do this? So, in a layman's word, what is consultancy?
Well, consultancy is simply advice. Advice, because somebody who knows how you can do something will be able to advise you what to do. Now, let me tell you, a consultant can also be seen as a coach. Sometimes you look at I use footballers for instance. Look at footballers. Look at Messi for instance. Messi has a coach. Yes, Messi is a bundle of talent and has a whole lot. But why does he need a coach? Because sometimes somebody needs to to manage this thing and be able to make sure that you're actually hitting that point that you're supposed to hit. That is where people are making the mistakes. And of course, in Nigeria, we feel we can always do anything. Remember, we are masters of everything, and we think we can do everything. Now think about it. These days, for instance, the event consultants are gradually beginning to find the place in the market. Before, if you want to wed, what do? You involve all your friends and your well-wishers.
So now they have event planners.
Do you understand? But there's an event planner who understands everything about events, understand the floor plan, understand the ambience of the events, and they plan it according to your budget and all that. But you see, these are expertise. These are areas of expertise. It's just like when you have to consult a doctor. That is the only way we remember there's a consultant. When you have to consult a doctor, a lawyer, or something, you now know, this one. But every area, there's somebody who knows something that can consult.
An expert. Okay, so how lucrative is the consulting industry in Nigeria?
Well, it's just picking up, actually, to be honest. And in some clients, it's almost like some is non-existent. Yeah, and some is neither here nor there. Okay, but the important thing is that a lot of people will come for the advice, but they are not ready to pay for it.
Yeah, I was coming to that. Do you do jobs and people refuse to pay? They just feel it's advice you are giving.
Especially when it's advice. So they just feel it's advice. So I mean, if you don't take your advice and run away with it, nobody's ready to pay for the advice. For crying out loud, it's still the advice. If you knew it, you would have done it. Do you understand? If you knew it, you would have done it. But obviously you don't. Now I remember having just talked to a friend, and all that, and he came back to me about 2 years later, and he told me, "Do you know that what you did? You told me something like this 2 years ago. Look at what it has done to me." But if I told him to pay a certain amount of money, then he won't. It's just we place the wrong.
So what you are saying in essence is that the consulting industry has not taken up to.
It's not taking up to what we see out there in the Western world just yet.
Okay, so how can that improve?
Well, it can improve because people need to understand that they always need help. We don't take advices very serious because we think it's just words. And we think that actually words are cheap. I mean, you just talked. What did you do? But my question is, if you knew what to do, why haven't you done it all the while? And why come to me? So some people come and then I tell them this is how much you pay for an hour or 2 hours or something. And they're like, I said, but you can go to a doctor's and then you pay him so much. What does the doctor do?
Save your life.
So do you know how much lives you've been saving? Just by saying this. I know businesses that we have helped. Sometimes they are just like this, and the next thing they are there. But the thing is that even when they get there, and even when they get there, they still don't see the reason. Well, people go out.
So they can't even pay more for going there.
No, because now what we do is that we try to paint the picture of the future
Okay.
so that you understand that this is where we want to go. So, there's some kind of indemnity. We like, see, if this thing does not happen, this one will happen. Because we sign MOU, all right, for those kinds of
So
things.
what happens if it does not work as
So
planned?
if it doesn't,
You refund the person?
if it doesn't happen, because you would need to know why. If it's because of us, maybe the
Yeah,
things we're
fault
doing,
from
then we
you.
know that this is our fault. But sometimes actually from the fault of the
They
clients.
don't carry out the advice.
They don't actually carry out the instructions and a whole lot of things, and sometimes the bureaucracy and all that. So it begins to have a negative effect on the results.
Okay. So people who are contemplating business, going into business, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Oh, if you want to go into business, make sure you have a problem you want to solve. Just make sure you have a problem you want to solve or something unique you want to bring into the business. Otherwise, it can just be another just like the others. How they say it. So if you have that kind of thing, of course, you could have 1 or 2 persons, but it's okay to start. If you have that, that strong desire to serve, because business is about service. Just in whether you're serving, you're providing service or providing product, is about service. You're providing something.
Solutions provider.
Yes. So make sure you have something that you want.
The Nigerian environment is so hostile for businesses to thrive. So how are professionals like you, brand experts like you, helping businesses to thrive?
Now, there's a lot of
Considering
things.
the hostile environment. That
Yes,
we're
there's a
in.
lot of things that happen, and of course, it's hostile, but to an extent too, it's also not regulated the much it should. So there are it's neither here nor there actually. So if it's so regulated, then there'll be a problem. There are a lot of laxities, so people can actually prey on some of those kinds of things. But what I'm saying really is that if you want to do business, then stand out and do business. I've seen some people who say they are doing business, they don't have a business account. They don't even have a business name that is even registered. Okay, so you do business with them and you pay money into their private personal account. I don't take you seriously, sincerely, and that's the other thing. So one of the advice I tell them that, are you sure you want to do business? Then have a business name, register the business name. Because a business is an organization, it should stand on its own. So you should be able to have your own account and your own money and your business money. Even if you want to take money from your business money, okay, I've taken money from business money, this is business money, I can always take it back. But otherwise, you won't be able to know when your business is killing and when it's thriving and when it's doing well. Because everything is just modeled up. So there's a lot of things that need to be streamlined.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what kind of advice would you have for people who have succeeded in business?
Or if you're succeeding in business,
people who are succeeding,
all you need to do is why am I succeeding? Go back and find out why am I really succeeding,
and keep it.
and keep up
all
with that.
going.
But please always keep an eye on the market, because there are new entrants coming every time. Every time. The statistics say that there are over 25,000 new products that are released every year around the world. So you can imagine, if you think your business is thriving, there are some people who are coming. There are upstarts and startups. All right? We call them upstart and startups. So they can overtake you anytime. So make sure you have one eye on the market. So to make sure you are just there. If you're a market leader, it's good. But it's one thing to be a market leader, another to sustain that. But what I'm trying to say, if you're succeeding, find out where you're succeeding and keep doing more of that.
Keep your staying power intact.
Exactly.
Okay, is there something else you'd like to share with us?
Well, what else do I want to say? I want to say thank you so much for having me. And it's been so much pleasure to share my
Thank you
ideas
so
and my
much. So
thoughts.
before you go, closing up now, we usually ask 5 personal questions. I hope you don't mind.
Well, if they're personal enough, I will check.
So if you were to recreate yourself, what is it that you take away from you?
What would I take away? What would I take away? Okay, I would say I would take away. Sometimes I procrastinate a lot.
So we
Yeah.
have the same problem.
So sometimes I
achievers,
like,
they
okay,
do.
I can do this. I know it's time to do this, but I can do it in 15 minutes. Before I know it, the time is already there and I'm not
What
ready.
causes that? Because we have so much on our hands to do.
Sometimes we have so much on our hands.
So
and
many
a lot
things
of,
juggling for attention
especially
at the same
for
time.
creative people like me.
Exactly.
There's
it's
a lot of
problem
things.
for
So,
creative people.
yeah, maybe I could change that, but otherwise I don't think I really want to change anything.
So what can you create for yourself? I mean, what can you add to yourself?
What can I add to myself? What can I add? And I think I'm just perfect. Sincerely. I'm fearfully and wonderfully.
Wonderfully made by God. So what is the most valuable thing to you in life?
Most valuable, family relationship.
What's your purpose in life?
Well, I believe that my purpose in life is to help people with my gifts, with my skill, with my talent as much as possible. That makes me
On a
so
final
happy.
note, the last but not the least, what does success mean to you?
Well, for me, I think success is about being happy, doing the things I love. Oh, and I thank God I found the things I love, and I do it every day.
And what are those
And it
things?
doesn't feel like work. I like to be creative, and I help people to find solutions in their businesses, in their life. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm so happy. And I like to talk like I'm doing right now. This gives me so much joy.
I think you should go do a course in law.
No, I don't
Lawyers
know
talk a lot.
No, about that.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, we thank you for staying with us on this journey. It's the KARIFEST show. Please try to hit the subscription button and follow us on social media, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram at KARIFEST TV. And the number to call is +234 8100 383805. I take that again, +234 8100 383805. Until we come your way again, please be authentic. It's the KARIFEST show, and from this end is KARIFEST Duchess Onyeka.